Hi folks, welcome to our first edition here of Pints and Brown Envelopes. Today we've got a legend of the Irish League, Tim McCann, joining us. So welcome, Tim. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you. It's great to be on. Yeah.
Not a problem. So, turns out there basically we'll go through a bit of chat through your career and have a bit of try and have a bit of laugh with it as well, and catch up on a few of the stories and that. But just with lockdown and things like that, how are you coping?
Yeah, it's probably the most difficult thing at the minute is the homeschooling with the kids. When you find out that some of your kids are smarter than you, when they ask you, as I just say, listen, your mommy will do that when I'm busy, you know. So it's good. It's challenges, but you know the good job that the teachers do. You know, especially with 30 kids, I'm only doing it with 3. You know, and myself and the missus, and it's really, really tough. So you got to take your hats off to the teachers.
They're worth their penny, aren't they?
Absolutely.
So, in terms of things that we were speaking earlier, just around learning and that. So, you guys just flat out on Zoom and doing their own wee sessions and things like that.
Yeah, players keep themselves fit in different things, and obviously it's because you can't interact and you know you can't socialise or so. Mick, the fitness coach, has been brilliant. You know, helping the guys to giving them programs just to stay fit and stay in shape. And you know, if and when this ever starts up, I can't see how it will, Mark. If I'm being honest with you, I don't see how they can facilitate finishing the league when they're even struggling to finish. You know, to come up with something to finish the Premier League in England. I mean, and I understand where the owners of the clubs are coming from, and the chairman, you know, are saying, you know, what is the point of playing Irish League games behind closed doors? Because it's going to cost the clubs even more money. You know, to pay for referees or to pay for ambulance service, whatever it may be, and to bring people in to staff the ground on the day of a game. I just don't see how it works. I really don't.
Yeah, it's not. I can't see it being feasible myself. Now, our league with Ballymena Premier Intermediate, we got word at the weekend that just finished.
Yeah.
They went on a points per game average. So
okay.
The Lloyd went on to win that. Eventually, they went the whole season basically undefeated. So I just can't, like yourself, I can't see how we can get the season back up and running.
And it's don't get me wrong, me more than anybody wants it up and running, but for the health and the safety of players, you know, as well, I just don't know how they're going to do it. I really don't, because the Irish League certainly don't have the money to test, you know, players before they arrive every day or every game, and you know whether they test them at training. As I said to you before, you know, you can do all the training you want away from the ground and on your own, and try and be as fit as you want, but any player will know that you'll only get. You can't replicate that unless you're actually playing football or playing contact, or you're playing your 9-a-side, your 6-a-side, your 11v11s in training, and even playing you know, friendly games and different things like that. It's like starting pre-season again. You would have to take the exact same model to do that, or what you're going to end up with is a lot of injuries.
Yeah, 100%. You're right there. So what we'll do here, Tim, we'll move on a wee bit just to your actual playing days. So in terms for yourself, were you always at Cliftonville then from a young boy, or who'd you start with?
I played under 10s for a team called Artillery, under a guy called Billy Anderson, who had a minibus back then, one of the very few, and took us to games and different things. That was probably my first experience of playing team sport. And then I joined Newington for a few years and was very lucky to win a trophy there. And then a wee period of time, I was 15 or 16, I got a little bit disillusioned with football, and I hadn't played for like 6 months. And a friend of mine, who's actually good friends with Jerry Flynn, Tim McCann had said to me, listen, I'm playing for Cliftonville youth team. They're looking at forward. Do you want to come down? So I says, no problem. I went down and trained on the Tuesday night, trained on the Thursday night, and played against Linfield on the Saturday, scored a couple of goals, and that was that for Cliftonville.
Oh, brilliant. And then turns it so 15, 16 you said, and then would have read on to under 18 football then, or?
Well, basically what happened, there was a guy called Artie McFarlane who looked after the youth team, and if you were lucky enough, as you went on and progressed and maybe got to 17, you got the chance to maybe play for the reserves. Sometimes you were playing a game for the youth team in the morning and then playing a game for the reserves in the afternoon. And then gradually you were just hoping that someone would spot you, and if you were good enough. Billy Sinclair was the manager then, and Billy took me into the first team squad, took a few of us in, let us train with them. And you, at that time, you had the likes of Jim McFadden, Tommy Breslin, Peter Murray, Billy Drake, Sean O'Kane, Mickey Donnelly. You know, these guys were, you know, I went and watched these guys when I was younger. So it was great to be involved in that. And then all of a sudden, it was Billy giving me my debut, and lucky enough, I was able to brought me on as a sub, I think it was, and was able to show a wee bit of what I could do on the wing, and it just went from there.
Yeah, very good. Who do you remember much about debut? Who it was against or anything? Or
I don't. I think it was Ballyclare at Solitude. Always loved playing at Solitude, especially under the stand. You know, when you pick the ball up, there was like a sense of expectation in the crowd. You could hear the crowd roar, and the old cage was there back in the day, and to be able to play in some brilliant games there, you know, like packed out houses at Solitude was incredible. And the atmosphere there was always really, really good.
Right. And then you were part of the first Cliftonville team then in 16 years to lift the trophy.
Yeah, we'd always been very, very lucky in competitions, and maybe got the semi-finals and always competing penalties or whatever. But this one year, I think it was 96, we got through to play against a really good Glentoran team in the Coca-Cola Cup final at Windsor Park. The Glentoran fans they sang their hearts out. The Cliftonville fans, it was an unbelievable atmosphere. The Cliftonville fans filled basically the whole of the North Stand, and I think we went 1-0 down, and then from the moment we equalised, there was only going to be one winner. We were by far the better team on the night, and as I say, to win our first trophy, it was over the moon for Marty Quinn as well, because what it meant a lot, and that really set us off on the journey that we went on, because we did go a number of years, you said 16 years without a trophy, but that was the catalyst, I think, for the success that then led us into the following season, you know, the County Anthem Shield.
Yeah.
So to win a trophy in 96, to win a trophy in 97, and then obviously to go on and do what no one believed or expected us to do, to win the league championship in 98 was incredible.
Something else. In terms of the Coca-Cola Cup game, I was doing a bit of research myself before it. You got yourself in the score sheet?
Yes, I was lucky enough. Jerry Flynn still slags me to this day about it, because I think Paul Stokes slid the ball through to me. And to be fair, I hadn't really done much in the game up to that point. And something like that really gets you, sort of sets you up for the game. You know, it was a cup final, probably one of the very first to play in, and obviously a little bit of nerves back then. But I managed to get past, I think it was Michael Smith doing left back at the time. I managed just to take it under the keeper. And as I ran away to the stand, I think it was actually crying, and Jerry Flynn was the first to get me, and he was hugging me and tapped me, and he was hugging me, he was screaming, and he was going, and then he just sort of stopped and went, "Are you crying?" It was just sheer emotion that kind of took over.
Just delight. See, the night then of winning the trophy and getting to lift it, I'm sure there wasn't many tins of heart left in the social club after.
No, well, it's safe to say I wasn't in work the next day, let me tell you. I think I left the social club about 5 in the morning. It was brilliant, because what used to happen was I think UTV or something used to show the game, and then they'd show the highlighted version. So basically, when we went back to the club and everybody was having a beer, whatever, the highlights were actually just coming on. So everybody just stood again and watched the game. It was surreal, and then just stayed there singing and dancing. It was incredible feeling.
Class. So as you said, basically, that trophy was basically the duck off the back, and then you went on, kicked on, County Anthem Shield in the league. So,
we got the County Anthem Shield the following season. I think we beat Ballymena on penalties, I think it was. And then as you say, the following year, you know, in the 97 season, 96-97 season, at the end of the 97 season, we were very, very lucky not to get relegated, even though we won the County Antrim Shield. We were playing away to, I think it was Ards, Castlereagh Park.
Yeah.
And it was about the 93rd minute, and I think Mark O'Neill went down the left, and it was literally the last kick of the game. And Mark O'Neill in his heyday was unbelievable. He pulled the ball back, and lucky enough, I was there to tap it in. And we knew that was it. We were safe. We avoided relegation. It goes to and then some celebrations there that day as well. But they avoid relegation on virtually near enough the last day of the season, and then to start off again with nearly the same squad with a couple of new additions, to then go on and actually win the league, the Premier League the following year with, you know, we all know how great the teams were back then, especially Linfield, Glentoran, Portadown, Glenavon. All of them were right up there. And for a team that we had, and I'm a big believer in camaraderie.
Yeah.
And the camaraderie of that team back then, Mark, was second to none. It was incredible. We didn't have the best training facilities. We didn't have much money as a club, you know, and but we had a togetherness and a willingness to win, and some of the football we played under Marty Quinn that year was incredible.
Yeah, I remember going up. I went up to watch a few of the games. My dad would always bring me up. He was a Cliftonville fan back in the day. He'd always be going. But I remember one game. I can't mind who it was against or at, but the crowd was just electric. The guy, Paul Reese in nets.
Yes, Paul Reese. Yeah, Reese.
Nets, and I think he's won or drew anyway. But the guys around basically, I was at the cage end, not the cage, around the cage end. And they just went for like an hour, just solid, just shouting his name. And for the whole time, he was just on his.
He was a great character, and it's just you know, there was lots of games where we were under the cosh, and he would pull off a great save, and then all of a sudden we would maybe, you know, then get on top of the game and nick a goal at the end or whatever. So he was fantastic. I think he's living in the States now.
I remember after the game for about 20 minutes when I got home, I was like, I'm going to be a goalkeeper. Like, no, I'm not doing that.
He was a character too. You know, there was, as I say, the characters when you look at the team, it just gelled at that right time, at that right moment, and for whatever reason, as I say, there's no explanation, and I wouldn't have said we were the best individuals or when you look around the league, but as I say, certainly that togetherness, I think, got us through.
Close knit goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah. And as I say, under Marty Quinn, you know, you were kicking the door to get out onto the pitch. You couldn't wait to get out on the pitch. It didn't matter who you were playing. And it was, as I say, it was incredible.
Yeah. What was he like then, Marty Quinn? How, like, you're mentioning in terms of these characters, there's Jerry Flynn, there's Mickey Donnelly, Michael Collins as well. Big names in there, and a few rockets.
Mickey Collins and Jody had literally just come into the fold of the team. You had Marty McCann there as well, Stevie Small. With Marty had signed a few Dublin boys as well. And he had signed the likes of Gary Snelly, Barry O'Connor, Mark O'Neill and other boys, and they really brought a gel to the team. And as I say, it was fantastic to see Jody Toland up front as well. What a find he was. It was incredible.
Yeah, he was quality. So how I'm sure, like, with the lads and stuff you had in the change room, you probably weren't the most quietest of bunches. So how good were they kept you in line?
I think it was very, very difficult to keep us in line because it was the culture back in the day. You know, that was it. You know, you literally knew that when you arrived at the game, you weren't going straight home again after the game. It was literally, you were just going out. You just left your bag in the ground and picked it up at training on the Monday or the Tuesday, whenever it was you were training. So, I mean, that's just the way it was. And you went up into the wee White House bar if you're playing at Solitude, and you sat there and you had a beer till they threw you out, and then ended up getting into town. And what you would have done was you would have met, you know, other players from other clubs in and around the town as well, and met up with them and had a laugh and a drink, and so it was always good crack. But Marty found it very difficult just to get back. There was one time after we'd won the league, we were playing away in Kasiche. We could beat something like 4-1 or 5-1 in the first leg, and we were playing away from home. And we arrived, and I think it was 7 or 8 at night. Everybody was tired, and there was obviously a bar in the hotel. And we said to Marty, listen, Marty was sitting just below us, and all we could see was the top of his head. And we said, Marty, can we have one beer? So you could just see his hand going up, and we could just see the back of his hand saying one. But the beers were about that size. They were massive. They were huge. So we ended up having the beer, and then we said, Marty, listen, come on, have another one just for a nightcap. And he'd put up his thing and say, you can have one more. So again, we got the big bottles, and then we asked for a third, but after the third one, we didn't see him, so we couldn't see his hand anymore. He was just seeing his head. So we had a few more beers there. So Marty liked the beer with the rest of them. But again, as I say, that's what made it work. I know people sometimes say, managers can't mix with players and different things. It worked then. It worked. It's not to say it might work now, but it worked then at that particular time because of the character that Marty was.
Yeah, definitely. Were you, in the end, of ever receiving one of his bolligans or anything?
Yeah, most definitely. I remember coming in at half-time, and we were having a debate or something about something, and he was having a go at me, saying you're playing shit or whatever you're doing, and I told him to F off or whatever it was, and he came at me and had me by the throat or something, and I maybe took a swing at him, and then it was broke up, and everybody was sort of arguing in the changing room and whatever. But we went out anyway, scored, and we came back in. We'd won the game 2-1 or something. We were 1-0 down at half time. We came back in after the game, and he just said to me, "It worked, didn't it? See, it worked." And that was just him. He knew how to get the best out of certain individuals, and obviously can't do that nowadays. You can't shout at players nowadays, or they'll go into their shell.
100%. That's what I was going to say to you. In terms of, you've done that now, before you can get out of the tunnel, boy, be trying to get a release.
That's what I'm saying. It's so difficult. I managed the distillery for a year, and you were trying to. I found out very quickly that you couldn't shout at players because, I was shouting at this big sick poor guy one time during the match or at half time or whatever, and he just started looking very sheepish, and I said, "What's wrong with you?" And he says, "Please don't shout at me." And I was like, "Right, okay." So that's when I kind of realized, listen, you can't shout at everyone. You have to try and man manage, and that's what a lot of the game is about nowadays: man management and finding out, what players can take a rollicking, which players can't, which players need the arm around the shoulder, and that's the way, unfortunately, the game's going.
Yeah, 100%. It's more the latter. They just can't take it.
Yeah.
I've noticed, even like coaching the kids side of things, a bit different. You wouldn't shout at the kids, but even like tackling and stuff's going on.
Yeah, it is. It definitely. I mean,
the kids are like tackler, they look get frowned upon when they're celebrating because of women. Everyone.
Exactly. So, but listen, that's the way it is. But I would love to, Teasy, would love to get a game now. The way this COVID-19 is going to take any type of game now.
100%. See, then, in terms of basically moving on from Cliftonville, then you crossed the divide, across Belfast to the Glens.
Yeah.
How did that move come about?
As I say, we'd played away in Kasiche, played the Champions League game at the start of the season. A couple of players had left, and I think we had an indifferent start to the season, and it wasn't the same. I got there around November time, and we were struggling to win games and struggling to make an impact in the league and cups and stuff. And I got someone from the club, and one of the officials said, "Listen, Glentoran have come in and are interested in you." But I was a Cliftonville fan, and I was a diehard Cliftonville fan. So I still get stick to this day about it from a lot of Cliftonville supporters about move. But as I said, I joined there when I was 16, and I was 27, so I've been there 11 years. And I actually went and spoke to a lot of the senior players. I spoke to Jerry Flynn, Mickey Donnelly, Marty Cobb, Stevie Small, all of them, and said, "Listen, if you were in my shoes, what would you do?" And they gave me their blessing, basically, and said, "Listen, this is the right time. If you're ever going to go, it's now." And so it actually turned around within a couple of days. I think it was a Tuesday the interest came in, and on the Friday, the deal was done. I think it was like I was the Bosman rule at that time, but you couldn't move until the end of December, and Glentoran paid £5,000 to get me kind of 2 weeks earlier, which I was happy about at the time. The Cliftonville got something out of it, So, and then I made my debut the next day against Linfield at the Oval in a big 2 in front of 12,000 people.
Brilliant. What's it like then playing the big 2 then compared to any of the other games that you played in?
Well, the North Belfast Derby was always quite feisty, but this kind of took it to a whole new level. Regards crowd wise and the rivalry between Linfield and Glentoran. Obviously, I played against both of them in the Cliftonville days, but playing that kind of atmosphere was incredible. It really was. It's as close you probably get to the Premier League atmosphere, I would guess, and probably even better. It was incredible just from start to finish.
Yeah, I thought like a lot of mates and stuff that I know, they would go to Glentoran and Linfield games regularly, like, and it's like Christmas when that game's coming up. They just can't wait for it.
It really is, and that it was always the one on the calendar that you picked out when you seen the fixtures coming through, and whether you were home first or away first or whatever, or whether you were home on Boxing Day or away on Boxing Day. And there's sometimes you played each other 6 or 7 times in the season because both clubs were very successful at that time, and they were always getting through the finals, or you were always going to meet them or play them, or so it was great.
Yeah. So just on you touched on a wee bit. A big fan still give you a bit of grief from that now. What was your first game back to Solitude like?
It was, I get kicked everywhere. Lumps kicked out of me. Marty Quinn had told the players to kick lumps out of me, and that I better not score. And Mickey Donnelly was my best friend at the time at Solitude, and he followed me everywhere, and gave me a few kicks. So I expected it, and it was a very, very hostile atmosphere for me personally, and obviously my family. But listen, that's part and parcel of football. So I look back on it now, and that you're able to stand up and that it didn't shy away from it. Took it on the chin and just get on with it.
That's it. In terms of then, so basically a couple of the trophies you won from Cliftonville, then you just became basically a serial winner then at the Glens. Just seemed like every year you were getting trophies. I
was very, very fortunate. I went from winning the league at Cliftonville straight into a Glentoran team and won the league the following year. John Devine was in the team, players like that. Rory Hamill, Scott Young, Pete Beattie, Andy Kirk, Stuart Elliott, Paul Lehman coming into the team, Colin Nixon, good friend of mine, and just individually fantastic. Rory Hamill, I think, it came back from Fulham. Scott Young, that came from Rangers. We all know about Andy Kirk and Stuart Elliott, how good they were when they were younger as well. So it was incredible team to play in. As I say, with the leadership of John Devine at centre back and the captain of the club, it was incredible.
Yeah, brilliant. So in terms of you said there, like Rory Hamill and all that, them boys coming across. Did you notice when you were training with this team, like a difference in quality, or did it take you a while to settle in with them? Or?
No, I don't think it took me a while to settle in. I settled in quite quickly. I thought that the issue is that I was cup tied from playing a couple of cup competitions with Cliftonville in that season. So you were stopping and starting games. So you were maybe starting a game and then maybe missing out because you were cup tied. And then obviously if the team won or get into the next round, you weren't expected to start anyway because it would have been unfair to drop someone from that team. So probably that first season was different. I think I played about 25 games that first season. I say we won the league, and then once that season was over, I was able to sort of bed myself into a regular starting place.
From there. So in terms for the trophies and things like that there, so you must have just been constantly hungover.
It was good times. I mean, we always knew, we always said, anytime you win something, you got to celebrate it, because if you don't, what's the point? You celebrate it, you enjoy that night, but once training came on, say the Thursday, if you won it on the Tuesday night or whatever it was, you were straight into the training again, and looking forward to, because that's the mentality Roy Coyle had. You know, we always said, go and enjoy yourselves, have your beers, but come Thursday game or come Saturday game, we're back to work, and you know, we'll focus on the next trophy and we'll focus on where we're going next.
Right. So terms for you touched on a wee bit there, Roy Coyle. What was he like to work under?
He was very, very tough. He was strict. He was very methodical in everything that he did. Back then, there wasn't a lot, maybe a thought that had went into coaching or playing out from the back, or you just learned a lot of different things about the game, because he'd been in the game. He'd obviously been across the water. He'd won all these trophies with Linfield as a player and the manager. And now here he was at Glentoran and putting his knowledge, you know, on the us and some of the young boys, and we just basically hung on nearly every word that he said, and try to listen as much as we could, and I would say he improved every one of our games.
Yeah. And then in terms of, so I'd say he would be the hard, you're saying here, he'd be strict and hard driving, but I take the whole team basically to maintain the success, you must have been on top of each other, constantly just making sure that everyone's firing all.
Yeah, I mean there was murder in training. You know, 5-a-sides. I'd seen us training to 10 o'clock one night because nobody wanted to lose 5-a-sides. Fisticuffs. You know, me and Andy Smith had a fisticuff fight in training one night, and just simply because nobody wanted to lose. And at that time, sometimes even Coyle would have been in the team, and if he was in the team, his team couldn't lose because he just kept playing to 12 o'clock at night until his team won. He'd have just shouted goal to winner and somebody would have scored, and he said, right, that's it. So, and then you'd been in the change room arguing over things. But that was a winning mentality. You know, that was a mentality that players had back then, and who never want to lose and always want to win. So you think about when it comes to Saturday and these players then come together and combine, how good they are.
Yeah, that's it. They're just going to run ragged. So in terms of looking into it as well, see the Derby games were touched on a wee bit with playing the Linfield and that. So 2001 Irish Cup final, you nearly scored the winner, banged the volley off the bar.
Well, funnily enough, somebody had it on YouTube the other day, and when you're sitting, you reminisce in this day and age that we're in now, and believe it or not, I actually just sat and watched the whole game, and watched the extra time, and it goes to show you just those little fine margins in line where you feel that you could have scored, but at the same time, Alan Goff had made a wonder save in the first half, I think, from Glenn Ferguson, and how he kept it out of the net, I don't know. And if he hadn't done that, we might have went on and won the game. But I just remember Justin McBride swinging a ball in, and I initially thought Michael was going to finish it off because he was at the back post. And as he went to side footed, he'd actually hit it back towards where I was, and I kind of spun and tried to head it towards the far corner. And I still give Michael a bit of stick today that I think was actually over the line. I hit the underside of the bar, and his size 14 boots were already over the line anyway. So, but no, I was glad for him because he got another 3-year deal out of that after he scored that goal. So Mike was a good lad, and he had missed a few chances that day, and he thoroughly deserved to get the winner.
I played against Holiday last year for Bangor.
Yeah.
And you're about the size 14 feet. His feet like flipper.
He does. Don't go to clown.
Big time. He was quality against us. Like, he was just back to goal, bringing players in around him, and like you could see young players that are in that Bangor side must just love up playing to him. He just knew he would just do something for you. Give you a ball, he chest it down, he flip, brought everyone around him. He was good. When I was playing, I was like, "Gee, you're too good for us." Still left.
Yeah, he was a dream to play with, and at that time, everything was about get down the line, put balls in the box, and the likes of Michael Holiday there, you had Andy Smith there, or else you had Darren Armour there, whoever. But and as I say, he was fantastic at what he did, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You must have loved as a winger getting by people, just knowing he's in the box, his movement.
Yeah, and you get to know each other. Obviously playing with each other, so he knew if I was going to cross it in first time, or he knew that if I was going to feint and go to the byline, if I got to the byline, he knew exactly where the ball was going to go. He knew either to hang back or else attack the front post or whatever, So we had that good sense of between us. It sort of worked.
Chip, definitely. Terms for then with the Glens you've played with, you've named loads of players there you've played with that are all in their own right Irish League legends as well. But who sticks out, would you say, is the best at the Glens then when you were there?
Very difficult, because each one of them at that. The best year I think was the 2000 and the team that won the league in 2003. We were going for the clean sweep, and Michael O'Neill was in the team. Michael had just come back, or from Hibs or wherever it was. Michael O'Neill, and you had a back four of Colin Nixon, Gary Smith, Paul Lehman, and Mark Glendenning. I mean, hard you could beat.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was surreal. It really was, and everybody worked their socks off. You had Scott Young in midfield with Darren Lockhart, and say Andy Smith, I think, scored 35 goals that season. So very, very difficult. But as an all-round, to see Michael O'Neill on the ball was something else. He was fantastic for those couple of years that he was with us, and you could see the full time and what he had learned across the water.
Yeah, just classy player.
Yeah.
I remember clips of watching him play and stuff like that there, but one of the games, I think it was for you, he just drops off anywhere. So one of them boys would just give him the ball, no matter where it was. He just seemed
and as you say, even being a winger, he would pick you out with a pass. You wouldn't even need to break stride. He just knew he knew where you were going. He knew what runs you were going to make, and he would either play it in behind the defender. And as I say, you didn't have to break stride. It made it very, very easy for us.
Brilliant. So moving on a wee bit then again, so you were on the move again then, the Ballymena came about?
Yeah, we just won the Irish Cup in 2004, in May of 2004. And I was 32 years of age, and basically found out that Roy Coyle was looking to move me on. So I had a meeting with him in the Park Avenue Hotel, and basically told me, even though it's 6 months left in my contract, that he thought that my legs were done, which obviously I disagreed with. There was no arguing or there was no shouting. I just simply stated I respected the guy too much to have a go at him. Had it been somebody else, might have been different. But I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I think it was probably in shock more than anything. And anyways, I remember driving to the Bellevue Arms, my local bar, and saying to Mrs. Listen, that's me away. The chairman at the time, Don Dick, come up, and to be fair to them, paid me out the rest of my contract. And I said to the Mrs., book 2 flights to Canada in the morning, because I just wanted to get away. I was getting phone calls from the press and different things like that, and we flew out to my aunt and uncle and stayed there for 10 days, 11 days. And while I was over there, Stephen Looney was trying to help me get sorted out with a club and doing negotiations back here for me while I was in Canada. And Kenny Shields, Gary Smith had went to Ballymena, Rory Hamill was there, Justin McBride was there. So all these players that I played with, Jamie Marks, Gareth Skates, what a team it was. I think we finished 4th in the league that year. And said I had a great time, but unfortunately I'd done the first of my cruciates in December of that year, and that was effectively the last game I ever played for Ballymena. Yeah,
just to touch back, and just when you're on that conversation with Roy Coyle, is that just shows like that ruthlessness bit to you, to say, right, your legs are done? Is that just why he's so good?
Well, I found out now why he did let us go, the truth, and it wasn't because of that. It was because myself and Gary Smith, who were 2 of the senior players, you had senior players who not ran the changing room, but were big figures in the changing room, and with Paul Lehman and Colin Nixon, and I think he thought, well, it became common knowledge. He wanted it broke up, and who better to let go than the 2 older ones? Gary Smith had been let go about a month before me, and then, as I say, the writing was on the wall with myself. He was always going to keep Lehman and Nixon. which two unbelievable players. You would never let them two go. But as I say, unfortunately, I says, well, first of all, I said I wasn't going. And he says, well, you'll sit in the stand. You simply won't play. In hindsight, I probably should have called his bluff. But and I always wanted to play. But as I say, to this day, I still call him Gaffer. I've got the ultimate respect for him. And we obviously have different opinions on me being released. But as I say, I still respect the man, and we still get on really, really well.
So in terms of Kenny Shields, I put on a coaching clinic there about last year up in Carrick, and I went to it, and just watching him for, it was about 4 hours, an hour out in the pitch. For that hour out in the pitch, he's just so passionate about, you could just see him confusing, he loves football.
He's the most enthusiastic person I've ever worked under. He is mad, just mad with enthusiasm. You know, his words can't come out quick enough when if he's giving a team talk or in training and what it is he wants to get across. It was fantastic. It really was, with some really, really good crack at Ballymena. As I say, some fantastic players at Ballymena at that particular time. And I think at one stage we were going for a European place. And just kind of fell away towards the end of the season, and I think that was Kenny's last season. Tommy Wright then came in and took over. But what a coach Kenny is. Honestly, training was different every night, something different every night. It was boys all kept on their toes, and as I say, with big characters, there were a lot of big characters in the change room, so he knew how to keep them all under control.
Yeah. So I remember the thing on the coaching course that we've done, he was doing like a possession drill with the under 13s or 14s at Carrick. Two twins. And one of the wee lads, the twin, opened the body up and played a great pass. And Kenny looked down and goes, great. And then the other 10 done the exact same thing 2 minutes later. And he goes, son, you're not good with me. You get made twice. And everyone burst out laughing. The wee lad on the way when he's on it.
That would have made his day. He, as I say, he's brilliant, and I'm not surprised that what he went on and did. Managing Kilmarnock and different things like that. He's one of a kind, Kenny.
Yeah, no, he's very good. The other memory I had him was I went up to Ballymena and played or watched. Sorry, I know the dugouts from memory used to be on the other side of the pitch that they are now. Used to be big concrete dugouts, and one of the matches he's on top of it.
That's right. Yeah.
He's on top of it, running across the thing, barking orders, do this, do that. And I'm going, he's going to fall off this or something's going to happen.
He's mad. We beat Linfield on the Saturday, 1-0 at Windsor Park that year. And on the Tuesday night, we were playing Kilmore Rec. And he basically rested the whole 90% of the team. I think it was only me and Gary Smith were in the team because we made it come in a bit later and he wanted to get his game time or whatever. We get beat anyway. He came in the change room. He was purple. He went absolutely boogaloo, and I think he didn't realise that he'd kicked his boots off. So there was a metal grid in the door, and he booted it, and he just realised he kicked it through. He had no shoes on, and he was hobbling about the change room, and he was still shouting at the players, and we were sort of lying on the ground trying not to laugh. Brilliant, absolutely crazy, man.
Brilliant. Your character. And then Tommy Wright coming in.
Yes, Tommy came in and had his first thing Tommy did when he came in, he says, I want everybody to take a pay cut. So which didn't go down too well. And it happened anyway. But I was on a rehab program with my cruciate, and I was due to make my comeback 8.5 months later of rehab that I'd done, and on the training on the Thursday night I was due to be in the squad on the Saturday, and I'd done my cruciate again, and I thought that was it. And obviously Tommy had said, listen, Tim, that's it, you need to move on. And we kind of had a few words just on what he thought my future would be. He thought I was finished. I said, no, I'm not. And so I got my back up and I left Ballymena, and Paul Miller was manager of Glentoran at the time, and so I went and had the operation again, and he said, sure, come down and do your rehab at Glentoran. So I did my rehab at Glentoran, and after about 6 months, I made a comeback in pre-season for the Glens, and I was 35 at the time, and then gradually worked my way into the team. Played a handful of games that season, and because I hadn't played in 2 years, and then Wendy left, and Alan McDonald took over, God rest him, and Alan gave me another year's contract. When I was 36 and played a full year under Alan, and then towards the end of the season again, I done my crusade again, the other leg this time, and I just said to myself, look, enough's enough. I'm going to end up a cripple. So I knew that was it.
Yeah, at 35, though, coming back after doing crusade twice, it just shows the character that you had. You know, from all them years of playing, you just still had the desire to get back on the pitch. Like, it must have been tough going.
I just think I didn't want it to end there. You know, I just didn't want that to be my last kind of memory or my last game. And you know, I would have given anything to get the. I don't think if Wendy Miller had brought me back to let me train with the Glens, whether I would have played again. But I think it was just that carrot of being able to pull that jersey on, even one more time, for Glentoran was the carrot on the end of the string for me, and that just it kept pushing me, and as I say, even the physios at Glentoran at the time, Tony Barnett and stuff, they really looked after me and got me through it. And as I say, it was I loved every minute of it, and was able to get a load more times playing and a few more memories in the belt for the Glens.
Brilliant. And then, so basically, to wrapping up on the playing days and stuff like that there, Tim, who did you say was your hardest you came across playing wise? Who's your toughest?
There was two, and there always was two, and it was John Easton for Linfield. John Easton, very hard as nails, very quiet, assuming lad off the pitch, on the pitch, hard as nails. And the other one was Mark Lendenny. Myself and Mark, when I was playing for Cliftonville, he started off playing for Bangor. I'd only come into the Cliftonville team, and right from the word go, we just kicked lumps out of each other. We hated each other, didn't speak, probably for 10 years. And then obviously I was with the Glens, and then Mark joined the Glens, so we ended up becoming really good friends, which is ironic. And was fortunate enough to have him in the team. So we still play for Glentoran Legends now, every so often, and Mark still plays and stuff. So that's about all the football I'm getting at the minute.
Yeah, and it turns on have you found it difficult from a coaching side then at the transition from playing to coaching?
Well, when I done my crusade, Alan McDonald had said to me, listen, I want you to stay around, and if it hadn't been for Alan, I don't think I would have ended up in the coaching, if I'm being honest with you. He said to me, listen, hang around, I want you to stick around the club, I want you to go in and work with the manager and the reserve team and kind of learn the ropes there. And the following season, I got the reserve team job. He gave me the reserve team job, and I was in there working with him in the background, any new players coming in and different things like that. Jimmy Gallagher, we actually lucky enough to sign Jimmy Gallagher when he first came through. He was playing in the reserve team for us.
Yeah.
And Jimmy was incredible as a young lad, absolutely incredible. He was a midfielder, one of the best midfielders I've ever seen. He was, and he signed pro. We got Jimmy to sign pro at a very, very young age. I think he was 16. As I say, Alan was very, very fortunate. Then Alan left, and Scott Young got the job, and who had played with, and brought in myself and Pete Beattie to work there for 2.5, 3 seasons. It was absolutely incredible time in my life. To be able to coach the first team and coach players that I played with, you know, which was difficult at times. But as I said, it was something I'll never forget.
Yeah, and instead the management, and then as well current coach at Larne. So how do you take it basically from all the managers? Then you're just learning bits and pieces off all them and molding your own style.
When I left Glentoran as a coach, I walked straight into basically the manager's job at Distillery in the Premier League, and they had just survived relegation. Unbeknown to me, when I took the job, two of their best players had already signed for someone else. Gary Cruisley, David Cruisley and Gary, can't remember his other name, but two of the main players are gone. When I got there, there was only one player signed on the books. So saying the likes of like some great signings, we had a really good time. Likes of Ram McCann and Michael Holiday and Johnny Hartness back in the day, big Philip Simpson, with some quality players. We really did. And we just unfortunate that time, the Premier League was really, really strong. And people kept saying to me, listen, you can't be the way you are, the jokey and the laughy kind of person that's always around the players. And I just said, look, I just want to be my own person. I don't want to try and do. Now, obviously, you're thinking about what Marty Quinn done, what Billy Sinclair done, what Roy Coyle done, and how would they handle these different kind of situations. So I kind of learned very, very quickly, so it was tough. It near killed me in the end, if I'm being honest. It was the stress I was under because we were going to get relegated, and it was extremely, extremely tough the last 6 weeks of the job before I left. It was incredibly hard, but the change room made it all worth it because some really, really good characters are and some real banter we had in training nights.
Yeah, I was doing a wee bit of looking at the likes of your Larne side of things and how it came about. Now, but one of the things I was reading was basically your pre-season trip to Andorra.
Yeah,
just put a drinking ban on.
Well, we did, yeah, and see, to be fair, we put drinking bans on during the season as well. Yeah, if there's a row of games coming up, especially for Christmas, the boys wouldn't touch a drink for 3 weeks. I mean, and it's genuine. And I know it wouldn't happen back in that day, but the players do it. We genuinely had a drinking ban in Andorra because it wasn't that. It was the very first time a team from Ireland, especially Larne, going away playing in the championship and on a pre-season training camp. It was incredible. It really was. It was incredible. Now, we played a couple of games and we'll let the boys have a beer on the very last night. But until that, it was completely work. It was 3 sessions a day. So the boys were knackered. They probably didn't want to drink. So it was tough going. And then obviously we've went away every year since.
Yeah. No, I was just looking at it, I was going, back in your day, if you were to be brought to Andorra for a training camp.
Now, that's not to say, I didn't say the coaching staff had a drinking ban. That's one of the advantages now of between being a player and being a thing. Because I always used to remember going away on European trips and you could see the coaching staff sitting having a beer, and you're not allowed to have a drink on a European trip or whatever. And so I remember the first night we traveled for something like 10 hours, and I got up to the bar, I was having a drink, and I could see all the players just standing looking at me like that. And I just said, well, that's the advantage of being a coach now. So just got to live with it.
Oh, brilliant. And then promotion then from Championship and then the Premiership, how have you found life in the Premiership things? Before the season started here, basically, you were on a really good run, weren't you?
Yeah, well, I think we had 6 out of 6 in 2020, and 18 points from 18 points. So we're if you look at the form charts, we're at the top with Korean.
Yeah.
Really flying. The boys are putting an incredible amount of work in. The full time is really really starting to show. In the space of 4 days, we've beaten Glentoran and Linfield.
Yeah.
And as I said, convincingly, and that really, really set us up for the other few games getting in. And I think we were only 3 points behind third place when the season finished. So, our aim, was obviously, you got to set your sights. Our first aim was the top 6. And it probably took us until December to actually find our feet. And because it was a different, you just don't have any God-given right to go from the championship, win the championship, get into the Premier League, and all of a sudden say, by the way, we've arrived. It doesn't work like that. All these other teams have been in this position in the top 6 or 7 for years, and you have to earn your right to play. And I think that was the big key. We probably found out that there's games where you can't play the nice football all the time.
Yeah.
That you have to kind of mix it and match it, and we've actually got the balance right. Tiernan and Seamus worked very, very hard behind the scenes, and strategizing and coming up with team plans and different things and how to get the players to implement it. And as I say, they're a great bunch of lads to work with. They're all full time, and I believe that they would have got their just rewards. And I don't think a European spot would have been out of the question.
Yeah, no, I was looking that way anyway. Cause they were just steamrolling ahead. Really, a lot of. I remember it was the Irish Cup game, especially, was just to build up to it. And I was watching it in the house, and they were saying like the full time training now is full effect, really, and teams were struggling to cope with.
Yeah, and that again, that's another game we were winning, and we should have won. We really should have won. We were the better team, and just again we fell short and get hit with a late goal again. But listen, you live and you learn. Taking off away from Korean, it was a great battle, and I'm sure it was a great match for everybody to watch on TV because it was end to end. But you live to fight another day, and these are the games and the things that we say to the players. Well, as long as you learn from it and you go on to the next game, then that's all that matters.
100%. Like next year, the experience is not then. You're just going to kick on again.
Yeah, and the fans have been fantastic. They've really bought into what Kenny's vision is and Tiernan's vision is for the club, and to get 1,500 home fans at the game, it's incredible. It really is.
It's some goal. But Tim, I think that'll wrap us up there. So thanks very much for coming on. And
no problem.
Listening to them here. So thank you very much. This will be dropped out probably later on tomorrow. It'll be probably Wednesday.
Grand.
Thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure listening.
Stay home, stay safe, everyone. See you later. Cheers.
See you later, man.
Bye bye.
Thanks very much.
Keep myself